Hello, everyone. So if you wouldn't mind trying to come more to the center here, you're fine like in this area, but just so like we're all having this wonderful, intimate setting. And my goal and objective during this hour together is to answer every single question in the room, okay? So please be super selfish. You've got me. This is your chance. There are 2 microphones in the front of the room. And the other thing I would ask with these microphones is I think it might be better to kind of move them more off to the sides so they're not standing in front of people's views. So whoever's in charge of these microphones, if that's not going to screw anybody up, just kind of off to the side. Yeah, and then approach the microphone if you're ready for your question. And like I said, you can ask me anything about those 10 obsessions, but anything about before the timeline, after the timeline, personal stuff, historic stuff, it's all fair game. I'm an open book. So somebody's got to be bold and brave. And once the final question is answered, our work is done here. So I hope you have an hour's worth of robust questions. So you're first. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go back and forth to the mics. When this line looks long, shoot over to this one. And here we go.
Yeah, so how do you get everybody, in the company to understand EOS and kind of like live by it? I think that's definitely one of the things we have not done.
Got it. Do you have an EOS implementer?
Yeah, we do.
Who is it? I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. So I want to share 2 things with you, and then what happens with this is, I'm going to do my best to answer your question in minutes. I'm going to look to make sure you have a happy look when I'm done. If not, keep asking, and then we'll see, because I may sideline it with some of you if it's a little deeper than that. But I'm going to suggest 2 things, okay? So it's how do you get everyone, buying into EOS, following EOS, understanding EOS? So the first is, if there were no books that were written, which is the way things were for the first 5 years of me working with companies, the idea is we call it 1 tier at a time, 1 tier at a time, 1 tier at a time. And just focus on those 5 foundational tools: VTO, accountability chart, rocks, meeting pulse, scorecard. Just focus on those. And you start with your leadership team, and you got to make sure that your leadership team is bought into EOS. They have caved, okay? And so if you got a couple weak links, people resisting, you've got to confront that, or it will never go beyond them. So leadership team's got to be bought in. Once they're bought in, you then push it down to the next tier of people. And so these are all leaders and managers on your leadership team. They need to lead and manage their people. And so they then teach those 5 foundational tools to the next tier and the next tier and the next tier. So, we have 6,000 person companies that have gone to every tier. So you just do it till you get to the last person. For a company that struggles with what I just said, 20% of the time my clients bring me in to come and meet with like the mid-managers in the next tier to help them build this muscle of doing this because they're struggling. 80% can do it. I hope 80% can. But talk to your implementer about coming in and helping if you need that. And then the last thing is, it's why we wrote What the Heck is EOS? Have your people read it, because the beauty of having your people read EOS is I make more money. I'm just kidding. So what happens is you're working it from the bottom up. And so these resistant leaders and managers, when you have everybody down here read it, they're going to like pull EOS down because they're going to get fired up. So that's what I would suggest to you. Does that help?
Thank you.
You got it, brother. Now we're going to go over here.
Hi, thank you for taking questions. I am a visionary who was guilty of many of the mistakes, the classic visionary mistakes. And now that our company has self-implemented and having tremendous success using EOS, a question that I have is, do you find that there's anything that would be good for a visionary to go back and make amends with some of my previous errors with staff and or with the implementer?
Love it. Love it. So I want to share something, and then I want to answer your question. Are you ready for me to answer, or are you about to add one more thing?
No, that was it. Thank you.
So it's like, I love that, and I appreciate that. So what I hope is that you made a list of all of your sins, right? Because we're going to talk about confession now, right? But one of the things, if I could have said everything I wanted to say on that talk, it'd be a miracle. But one of the things I would have loved to have squeezed in, there just wasn't time, is what I'm seeing happening more and more now, and I call it "it's me." And it's when a visionary in a session, I've had it happen 3 times in the last 90 days, it's so beautiful, where the visionary finally goes, "It's me. I'm the problem. I now see how I'm holding this team back." So you're in good company, okay? So you've been awakened. So what I would suggest is make that list. Here are all the ways I've sinned. I now see it. And yes, go sit down with each and every one of them. Just for the record, I'm guessing like half of them you probably don't, and it's just you need to like dig into that thing and why you did that and why you were that way or why you did that. But the other half, yes, sit down, face to face, have an open and honest, and apologize. Take the bullet. Take the greatest thing you can do as a leader is take the frickin' bullet, even if most of it wasn't your fault. Take the bullet. And all of a sudden, they'll relax, and then they'll share how they really feel, and then you have a wonderful conversation. Does that help?
Thank you.
Awesome. We're going over here.
Hey, my name is Daniel Brindley. I'm a concert promoter here in DC, actually. EOS has changed my life, specifically EOS Life. I actually went so far as to create a survey that I pushed down to our leadership team, so they're constantly measuring, and I can avoid some really difficult conversations down the line. My question for you is, what are your other passions? And related to that, I have a weird sneaking suspicion that yoga, mindfulness, something's in your life. It's impacted my life too, and I'm just interested what, and maybe it's related to other passions, what underpinnings you have that have kind of supported your own personal growth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so passions, I'll answer that first. Excuse me. So what are my passions? So the number one passion hasn't changed, and that is helping people get what they want from their businesses. So serving entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial leaders is like the number one passion from a business standpoint. And then the way I describe it is I have 5 pieces of content I've created in the world. Entrepreneurial Leap, Rocket Fuel, EOS and Traction, EOS Life, and 10 Disciplines. And so the book ends, Entrepreneurial Leap and 10 Disciplines. I'm a 50% partner in those businesses, and I have a partner in each one of those businesses. Entrepreneurial Leap is all about serving early stage entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs in the making. And we've got an incredible academy for any early stage entrepreneur. And so we're building that and really helping early stage entrepreneurs really ramp up. And then the 10 disciplines and the book Shine is all about what I talked about earlier, is embedding these 10 disciplines to maximize your outer and inner world. So, and I'm going to come back to that because this is going to get to the mindfulness thing you brought up. So that's the business, those are the business passions. And so I'll forever, I'm probably working as much as I ever have. Where I used to work 55 hours a week, I now work about 45 hours a week. That's the only difference since I sold, but it's on these things. But other passions, I love to travel, so Kathy and I travel a lot. I travel with friends, I travel for business. I love to travel. I love going to the movies, silly little things. It's like I get a real kick out of that. I love to read. I love to go for a long walk, so those are just like the really simple passions that fill me up. So it's not hella skiing and skydiving and race car driving. It's like none of that stuff does it. Now the mindful stuff. Are you familiar with the book Shine?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so if you read the first half of Shine, you're going to see clearly what changed in my life in the last 5 years. And when you talk about mindfulness and yoga, so yes, I do yoga. I do yoga about once a month. It's not a strong practice. I do a stillness practice, meditating, journaling, things like that. But it's all in that book. And so I just simply had an awakening 5 years ago. I realized how I stuffed all my trauma down. I did it at 15 years old to protect myself from the world, and then created this tough guy persona for 35 years. It served me really well in building an empire, but it was not serving me well internally. And so I learned how to shed all of that, and it's all in Shine. I could sit here and read it to you to give you all those answers, but it would take us a little while.
She bought it while you were speaking.
Oh,
earlier.
that's awesome, bro. Appreciate that.
Good to go. Thank you.
All right, we're going over here.
How did you know it was the right move to invest in Mike rather than continuing to look?
How to invest in what?
Mike.
Peyton.
Excuse
Yeah.
me. Thank you. And then what was the process training him up? What did that look like?
Yeah, great. So, again, I'm going to zoom way out on this one because it started with me going, I always knew I was going to take myself out of the visionary role in the running of the company someday. So what I told all the implementers is I said, I stepped away from being a full-time implementer to build a company so that I could go back to being an implementer. And I would say, someday I'm going to be sitting right back there at those tables with you at our quarterly meetings. And so I always knew I was going to succeed myself. Number two, it was a timing thing where I realized now's the time. And then when we did that, we put in place a 5-year plan. And so we really looked long-term at this. And that was when I was able to then psychologically get ready for this and realize that in the next 3 years, I need to be out of this visionary seat. And so then what I did is Don laid out this beautiful quarter-by-quarter methodical plan to replace me and then replace him. So it started with me getting really clear on what the next visionary looks like, because it was a different visionary than me. So like a funny thing Peyton said to me when he took over is he says, Gino, we can't run this company on handshakes and yelling at people anymore. That was my management style, handshakes and yelling at people. So the company needed to grow up to the next level, and that's what Peyton was able to do. So Peyton was the perfect visionary for 5 years. So I got really clear on what the company needs there. I then put up the radar and searched for who all the potential visionaries were, whittled that down over probably about a 6 to 12 month period to Peyton, and then started having conversations with Peyton, coached him for about a year, and the big issue with him was his arrogance and whether he could become humble, which he did, thank God. But then what would happen, though, in that coaching is he then would shadow me and watch me as I delivered the boot camps and the quarterlies, and so he was just kind of working side by side, for lack of a better term, with me. Then I passed the gavel to him. He still was not the visionary. He took over the quarterlies, he took over training the boot camps, and so I hope that's making sense, and it was just a transitioning everything over to him till the final day that he became the visionary, and I stepped up into the owner's box, and we were, that help?
Yes. Was there a feedback process when he was shadowing you and things of that nature, or was that more when you passed
I mentioned one of the obsessions about open and honest and resolution? Yes, there was a lot of feedback. And remember what he said, ruthlessly and lovingly honest. He got a whole bunch of ruthless and lovingly honest feedback. Instantly. I didn't save it up, for the monthly meeting with him. It was instant. And so, like, for instance, when he would run the quarterly with all the implementers, or he would do the boot camp, he would get feedback from me as to, here's the 76 things you need to do better if you're going to take this thing over. Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Lots of feedback. Going over here.
Yeah, hi, Gino. One, I wanted to thank you for EOS. I'm a fractional CTO, and I only work with EOS companies now, but mainly because I was at a previous company that was just a complete shit show. And then they brought EOS in, and I saw what a huge difference that makes for everybody in the organization, but especially the dysfunctional executive team.
Yeah.
My question is, I've got a client who is exceeding that 50 million kind of line, and they're starting to ask questions around are we getting too large for EOS? And I think my personal opinion is I think they're just not doing it very well still. But they're wondering if there's
You beat me to the answer.
Yeah, do they get out of the target market size?
So help me understand. Let's pick one as an example. So think of the one. How many employees do they now have where they feel like they're outgrowing EOS?
They are a franchise organization, so at the corporate level, they're still pretty small. They're under 30.
So here's what I would suggest you. First of all, you answered the most important question there. It's until the franchise corporate office has more than 250 employees, they're not too big for EOS.
Okay.
So there's some head trash going on with them, and they want out. They want out. Okay. They're trying to find any excuse to not implement EOS. So I have this lovingly thing I say to EOS implementers. I say, run. Okay. So you can't cram EOS down. They got to want it. They got to want it. They got to want it. And I'm not going to spend a minute of my life selling someone on EOS. You got to want it. So, and the best way for them to want it is everybody in the leadership team read Traction, and they either fall in love with it and they go, we got to do this, or they say no. So that client is resisting it. So to that specific one, if they have 70,000 franchisees and still less than 250 in a corporate office, they're a target market client. They're two different things. We have 850 EOS implementers and 85 people at the corporate office, and it's a franchise. EOS Worldwide is now a franchise, target market. So, but if you have another one that's exceeding 250 employees, yeah, so until you get there, then ask me, but here's what happens. The ones that at 251 or more still qualify for EOS is they remain entrepreneurial. What happens when they get that big is they start bringing in professional managers, Harvard MBAs. I'm trying not to make a facial expression. I've just had some on leadership teams that's been brutal. But they bring in professional managers that they've been trained a certain way and they will only do it their way and they won't cave to an operating system. They start to become very bureaucratic with layers. They start to want to have matrix organization. It gets so complex. But the 10% of our 280,000 companies around the world, 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 employees, they remain entrepreneurial. There's a visionary, there's an integrator. They didn't fall into all those bureaucratic traps. Best answer I got for you. That answer it?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
It's not your happy look, but something tells me that's your normal face, so I'm going to take that. Exactly. I love it. I love it. Going over here.
Thanks for sharing your heart today. One thing that stood out to me was that when you decided to sell, you shared that with all 180, not just your leadership team. So to give some context, I'm in a similar, not similar situation. 6 months ago, I separated. We had a vertically integrated company. Visionary and I didn't get along. He's on one side, I'm on the other. We're still partners in both of the businesses. So I'm on the property management side. I don't necessarily have a big choice, but they may sell the portfolios that the management company manages, which is about 90% of our business. And so in the event that sells, last week shared with our leadership team, which has kind of jostled them a little bit because I'm still confident in our 10-year target, but it could drastically change what we look like. So how did you decide to share with all 180? How did you do it? And how did you prevent kind of this like, oh, maybe I should go find something else to do because if this doesn't work out, it's bad for me?
I'm going to answer the first two, and then let's re-ask the third if this doesn't indirectly answer it. So, as I shared in the talk, I made a decision to do something every professional in the selling industry will tell you, do not tell your employees until the day of closing because really bad stuff's going to happen. I don't agree with that. I couldn't live with that. But I had a very open and honest organization, again, where we were all open and we were all honest. And so I had to be honest with them. I couldn't live with myself if I wasn't. The reason most companies probably shouldn't do that is because they're not open and honest. It will be a clusterfuck, for lack of a better term. It will end poorly. So you have to make a decision as to how open and honest your organization is and how vulnerable everybody's willing to be about this. So the decision was easy. The execution and the presentation that I delivered was brutally hard because I prepared so well for that. Because I had 8 reasons for why I sold, stood in front of all of them, and I said, I've got some news. I've decided to sell the company. And here are the 8 reasons. And I, as masterfully as I could, explained that so they understood my heart and soul and why. And then I did everything in my power to put their mind at ease. And then same thing, every day, every week, every month. I had to keep reinforcing that for 8 months because it was 8 months till we closed. So for 8 months, I had to manage and herd those cats because then there's a scuttlebutt. Some get concerned, some get scared. But mostly 95% of the people were open about their concerns. And then we discussed the concerns, Q&A. So how close am I to fully answering all of your questions?
I would just say for those who weren't being open and honest, would you have made a decision to kind of separate them from your business at that point?
The people or the owner selling?
The people.
So the best way to answer that is, because I don't look at it as the people who weren't open and honest. If I failed my company and all of my people by not creating an open and honest environment, the open and honest ones would have been gone a long time ago before I even talked about selling, okay? So they were all open and honest. Other than, again, you got some tiny, tiny percentage when it's that good. If there are people that aren't open and honest, and let's pretend it's 20% of them, if that's my company, I probably wouldn't tell them because that would be the clusterfuck I alluded to 2.5 minutes ago.
Gotcha.
Okay? Hope that helps. Yes?
Morning, Gino. My name is Lee Wilworth. I'm a serial entrepreneur. EOS, like for many of us, changed my life. I'm a visionary, so it really helped me learn about me, knowing myself. So that's been transformational. I really appreciate that. I'm at the point where I run multiple organizations on EOS right now, both nonprofit or for-profit and close your ears, nonprofit. But I'm at that point where I'm working my for-profit organization, getting it to the point where it runs on its own, so that I can transition it and or focus my life more on the service side that I'm passionate about.
Yep.
My question was essentially the same as hers in that whole transition thing, but I'm a big context person. So you, again, just alluded to the 8 reasons.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you'd be willing to share what some of those are.
Yeah, I'm kicking myself because I didn't bring it, and I was going to bring it. So maybe. I want to say this about nonprofits. This is really important because remember, the EOS target market is a privately held 10 to 250 person company. And that's where 80% of our clients reside. 10% are smaller, 10% are larger. We have nonprofit clients that are amazing. But if you take every nonprofit on the planet, and let's pretend there's 1 million of them, you don't want to be working with like 990,000 of them. But there's like 10,000 of those million that want to be accountable. It's not kumbaya. I've had 2 nonprofit clients and they were amazing. So please, we love nonprofits as long as you come in knowing that this thing was created for a for-profit business, hard-charging entrepreneurs. So you got to be that or it's not going to work, for what that's worth. I'm not quite understanding your question because I'm hearing you say, I want to just kind of echo it back to you. You've got these 2 companies. I thought I heard you say you want to transition out of the nonprofit to go into the for-profit, or the other way around. Yeah, so your passion is in the nonprofit. So you want to spin off or sell this for-profit.
Correct.
So I love that because that's where your passion lies over here, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm not quite sure I hear the question, but now to give you the 8, let me give you the 8 and then see if that fully answers everything. I was going to bring the 8 and I didn't, so I'm kicking myself. I'm going to peek one last time, but I don't think I did. But I can give most of it to you. So it was things like, hold on. No luck. All right, so it was things like the company's too big. Don and I don't want to run a 200-person company. Not fun. I like little scrappy ones. I would jokingly say, the day we have an employee handbook, I'm out. So they introduce an employee handbook. I'm out. So I don't want to run a big company. I don't want to, that's not right. The other is, I needed to free up my brain. The business was always on my mind. So I needed to free up my brain. I wanted to pursue other passions. I have more to contribute to this world, and staying in that is going to prevent me from doing that. Another one was that multiples were great. It was a great time to sell. So it's just the right time to sell. Another was we felt Peyton and Kelly were ready. This is their time to shine. So things like that. But what I wanted to be careful, the reason I decided not to share the 8 is because it will taint you. Your job is for you to decide, why am I doing this? And I got to tell my people that. So you got to figure out your reasons. The point I was making in the talk was you got to figure out your reasons and articulate so clear so your people go, oh, I'm so excited for him. Because I looked out at those 200 people and it's like 190 were so excited for Don and I. 10 weren't so much. They were a little scared. Yeah. But they were, and so they'll be so happy for you and they will help you get there. Yeah. So that's what I got for you.
Excellent. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You got it. Going over here.
Good morning, Gino. I'm Brandon. I'm an integrator with a waste hauling company in Western Maryland. We got 50-ish employees.
Love it.
One of my biggest struggles right now is, as an integrator with a visionary that's very caring and very loving and believes everything that everyone tells him, he's believing false truths that I can't convince him are lies. And I need to know personally how.
Oh, say that. You can't convince him. I didn't catch those last.
So he's hearing.
Just say the same sentence. I can't convince him
that they are lies.
That they are lies. Got it.
That the false truths that he's hearing. I have people in leadership team coming to me after EOS training days saying it's bullshit. And how do we address that with a small hiring pool? Very limited. We're in rural West Virginia, Maryland. We don't have a lot. And then second question is, how do we convince our lower level employees, lower income employees, to have a number?
Yeah, that's cool. All right. So something is coming to mind. Don and Kelly, the 2 integrators for EOS, we're going to do a breakout tomorrow. And I'd urge you to ask that question about how to deal with those people as an integrator. So I'm going to answer it right now for you, but if you want more, go there and ask them, because I would love to hear how they answer it as an integrator when you have people lying to you, right? So what I would suggest is I'm going to make an assumption you're right, because with all due love and respect, you could be psychotic. And I'm talking to a psychotic person right now, okay? So that I can't read that fast enough. I'm going to assume you're right. And you have people in your organization that are lying to your visionary. And your visionary is believing them. He's literally believing what they're saying. And your visionary won't listen to you or believe you that they're liars. So this is what I'm just going to give you my personal experience and what I would do. There's 100 ways to potentially solve that. But what I would do is I believe you're about to go into the toughest conversation of your business life. Okay? And I would prepare extremely well. And so let's go back to 2 obsessions, open and honest and fanatical about resolution. You need to go into that meeting with those 2 obsessions, every ounce of your being ready to do that. And you have to schedule a meeting. It's him, the visionary. Schedule a meeting with him, prepare well. My style is bullet point stuff. When communicating with a visionary, what you have to say to the visionary when you start the meeting is you have to say, I need you to listen to me for 20 minutes and not respond to a word I'm going to say. And then when I'm done sharing this in 20 minutes, the floor is yours. Because what they're going to do is they're going to keep trying to interrupt you. So prepare well, go into that meeting, share as clear as you can, 3 data points for each issue. Here's what's really going on. We talked about fanatical about resolution. Take yourself to the worst case scenario and decide if you can survive that. Do you already know what your worst case scenario is if that doesn't go well? Are you willing to go find another job? Are you a good integrator? You'll find a new job in a fucking month, okay? But you got to make sure you feel that way. Because if you feel that way and you know that, you will be so confident and so clear, and he will hear you different than he's ever heard you before, and you got to present it. Get your 20 minutes, and then you can't control the outcome after your 20 minutes. You're either going to be fired on the 21st minute, or he's going to wake up and realize. Right. So does that's what I would do.
Thank you.
You got it. Oh, I'm sorry. You asked the second question. Everyone having a number. Everyone having a number. Everyone having a number. You can sit down. I'm just going to. So when you say that, it's really simple, okay? And I'm a fanatic about data. And so all I do is look into the eyeballs of all of my people and I say, what's the most important number? And so like one person of the leadership team, every QCE had to be a 50% profit margin. Another one had to make sure attendance was 80% every quarter. Another one was another. Look them in the eye and think about what is the most important number. Ideally, ask them and they'll give it to you so you don't have to do too much heavy lifting. But then you manage them to that every day, every week, every month, every year, and burn it into their brain. They're going to resist. So that's what I would do there. Okay? Going over here.
Gino, it's Michael, owner's box in San Antonio, construction company. You sold your company. Did you have any ownership at the end when you sold it? And do you still have it now? And if so, if you didn't, would you have retained any ownership?
So I did. I have 12.5% of the company. I own 1/8 of the company. I very much intended to keep equity in the new, in the purchased company, 100%. I believe in the buyers, and I believe in the vision, and I believed in Peyton and Kelly. So yeah, I was all in. 1/8 of the company I kept. So I think that answers the first part. And so the second question doesn't need to be answered because the first one was answered. You got it. Highly recommended. I mean, if you believe in what you created, and if you sell well, why in the hell wouldn't you? So, and by the way, their goal, the private equity firm's goal, is to give me a check bigger on the next sale than the one they gave me the first time. So I like that motivation. But obviously that means they'll make a lot of money as well.
For today. We're a third-party GC in Texas. We build approximately 15 to 20 projects at a given moment in time. So I bring that up because one of your comments was core values plus core focus. That's everything.
Soul, baby.
Right?
Soul.
Where is the line with that? Because within the company, that's what we do. But I'm concerned that our clients don't follow the same core values.
Yeah, and what's the 15 things I couldn't get those 3 words. You build something. What's the 15 things you do?
15 to 20 projects at a time.
Got it.
So
construction or tell me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Construction. So each client gives us, 10% market share. So my concern is if a client does not fit our core values and we choose to walk away from it, that's a big share. So what feedback do you have,
So
for
I
that?
would suggest a couple things. First of all, look up Saxy Construction in Detroit, because that's one of my clients, the greatest construction company running on EOS on the planet. Todd Saxy, the owner, was the first EOS client story in the first conference, I believe, first or second. So I would suggest this. The first thing I would urge you to do is first look internally. How many internal employees do you have?
135?
Yeah, so make sure those 135 all have the core values, all buy into the core focus, and you're protecting those two things, right? You got that part. Now you're going to do something that most companies can't and don't do, and we have the luxury of doing it at EOS Worldwide. You then take that soul to your clients. So you're embarking on something that is very rare. So first of all, just know that if you do what you're suggesting, you're in rarefied air. That's a really cool thing that you're doing, and I highly recommend it, but it's really hard. And so now what that means is you got to look at those 10 clients, and you got to people analyze your 10 clients. And you got to make sure they reek of your core values, and they are absolutely in alignment with your core focus. And where they're not, you got to have a tough conversation with them. And some will step up, and some won't. And for the 2 that don't, or 3, you got to replace them. So you got to be confident enough, like I know I can replace all of my clients if I need to, if they're not going to play nice. So you got to decide how confident you are. So rarefied air, I would suggest you just start with 1. I hope there's 25 other ones to choose from out there in the world that you just go after them. But just start with 1. Fix 1. And once you fix 1, you're going to gain confidence for the second one and the third one. That make sense?
That's perfect. Thank you.
Love it, man. Love where you're going. All your vendors, all your clients, everybody in alignment with the soul of your company. That's heaven. And that's where we are as EOS implementers.
Hey, Gino. I'm Joanne Giordano, and I'm a fractional integrator. And I just wondered what your opinion was about fractional leadership teams.
EOS Worldwide was a fractional leadership
That's what
team.
I heard you say today, yeah.
Entirely for 10 years. Well,
Amazing.
for 8 years until Kelly came along.
Okay.
So she always jokes about how she inherited all these like 1099s. I mean, it was just such this messy, cool entrepreneurial thing. So EOS Worldwide was a virtual company and a fractional company for 8 years. Don gave 60% of his time as integrator. I gave 25% of my time as visionary. The marketing person was a fractional marketing company, and so we had the fractional. The IT guy was fractional. I thought Tyler was sitting somewhere, but anyway, so I'm all for it.
Wonderful.
And it was virtual. Like our level 10s before Zoom were phone calls, you know? And it all worked because we were, anyway, I think I've said it all. So does that?
Wonderful. Yep. That's
All
great.
for it. It
so
absolutely
much.
works. But it's a capacity question.
It is.
Because then we got to a point where we needed a full-time integrator. We needed a
100%.
full-time marketing person. We needed a full-time ops person. We needed a full-time. And so Kelly helped us grow up and bring in full-time people.
Yeah, our goal is to work ourselves out of a job. That's all we want to do. So
That's how I see it.
Yep. Pretty cool. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Going over here.
Hi, I'm Cheryl. I am hoping you will go back a little bit before EOS to the transition from working for the family to going to your own thing. 20 years ago, I started helping with a family business just to fill some holes.
Yeah.
About 10 years in, they needed somebody to help them pivot and save things. So I dropped out of school, learned everything I could about business, found
Awesome.
EOS,
Awesome.
was able to turn the company around. Very proud of that. We're about to sell, which leaves me in a position where I'm suddenly going from pulled in 30 directions all day long, every day long, into an opportunity to do something new. When you were in that spot, how did you find the energy and clarity to be able to refocus, figure out your passion, and then start EOS?
Are you the integrator or visionary? You may have said it.
Integrator.
You're the
Sorry.
integrator. Okay, great. I had a feeling. I was the integrator as well. Are you convinced that that's what you are as an integrator? Do you think you might be a visionary who got stuck in an integrator role? What do you have the soul of?
Lean a little bit more towards integrator with some visionary tendencies.
Got it. So, but majority integrator.
Majority.
So if
integrator.
you go do something else, you're pretty convinced it's going to be an integrator.
In some capacity.
Yeah.
But I like staying high level. I don't like really being
Okay,
in
so this is interesting. So I'm just going to tell you my story, and I think my story is going to help you get clear on your story, okay?
Thank you.
So same thing, 8 years was my reign in the family business, okay? Took it over, did a big turnaround, got it out of deep, ugly debt, got it growing again. I then joined Strategic Coach, which was very powerful. And so I'm like feeling like you might be strategic coachy because it helped me get really clear on my unique ability. And that's when I realized what I was, and I realized I was a visionary and stuck in this integrator seat. So this is where you got to do some soul searching. I realized I was a visionary. So when I realized I took this thing as far as I could, I went to my partners, my dad and Ed. We each owned a third of the company. And I said, I'm retiring. And they talked me into staying because I was out. And we actually started to work on my exit plan and all that kind of stuff. And then they talked me into staying. I stayed for another year and a half, and I said, all right, I'm not letting them talk me out of it this time. Went to them again, said, I'm out. We worked on my exit plan fully, and then we got a phone call. And I had a feeling it was coming anyway. We sold the company. It worked out perfect because I don't know what the hell they would have done without me, quite frankly. So, strategic coach, clarify. I realized I was a visionary, and I set off to do my thing. Now, when I set off to do my thing, it was going to be really simple. I wasn't looking to build a 1,000-person company. I was just going to be me working with entrepreneurs. So I get a sense that it's okay if you do this like little company thing. I was making $500,000 a year just being an implementer, having all this crazy free time. It was heaven, and I could have retired off of that 20 years from now. So does that glean everything you need?
That's wonderful.
I had a funny feeling.
Thank
Good
you
luck
very
to you.
much.
Let me know next year how it goes.
Good morning, Gino. First of all, I want to thank you for writing Shine. I think it was incredibly brave on your part, so thank you.
Brother.
I have 2 questions. Have you ever seen a company run effectively with 2 visionaries?
No.
That was easy. And what was most helpful for you so far in your journey to know thyself?
Great. So yeah, 2 visionaries does not work, but I have sinned. So of my 136 clients, I had 2 clients that there were 2 visionaries, and they wouldn't change. I'm going to talk about the one specific case of 2 brothers, okay? And I tried every session, and they could not see, when 2 people are in charge, nobody's in charge. The way they were just confusing. It was a 50-person company, and it was just so messy. But they did everything else really well. They ran purely on EOS. And so what we always do with our EOS clients is the more they don't do EOS, the more it's not EOS. And that was the one violation. I was okay with it because they're growing like mad. They're doing well. But every frickin' time their 2-headed monster showed up, I'd say, see, that's what happens when you got 2 visionaries. See, that's what, and I would do that like at least 5 times per session. After they graduated 2 years later, they finally went to 1. But it doesn't work. There's no way it works. It doesn't work. Stop it, stop it, stop it. Move 1 up to the owner's box or into one of the other seats, but it does not work. Anyway, but I've sinned twice. The other 135, no. What was the biggest thing that helped me to free my true self? Is that kind of what you're asking?
Know thyself on your journey.
Yeah,
so
know
far.
thyself. That's great. Okay, so know thyself. So here's what I would suggest. I want to create context so that everybody's kind of playing along with us. Because when you say know thyself, I think that to me, that is free myself, okay? And so what happens for us as human beings is somewhere in our childhood, typically around 7, but somewhere in there, there's trauma. And I've had plenty up until age 15. And then at age 15, when alcohol touched my lips, thank God it was never a problem, but what the alcohol did is it, for the first time in my life, numbed all the pain from the trauma. And so what I did is I put this suit of armor on, and I realized that if I just became this like tough guy, drinking, fighting, working, and so like I was like cool and I was popular, and prior to that I was like this sensitive, very creative kid. And so I put on the suit of armor for 35 years. And so it's important for that context because then I kind of had an awakening 5 years ago, which I then, the pain just started to come up. So there's an old saying that says, the trauma comes up when we are safe, and I sold the business. I was sitting in my living room. I felt safe, and so it all came up. And so that's when my soul was pinged to say, my soul was saying, hey, it's time to be the real you. It's time to be your true self. It's time to set your soul free. So that's what you're asking is then how did I like free that and really fully be me? And so I'll give you a couple examples. And we give 30 ways to do that in Shine. Okay, so there's 30 ways to do this. But one really big one in its simplest form, because I'm going to talk about outer world and inner world stuff, was strategic coach. Strategic coach, from an tangible outer world thing, helped me understand my gift, like why I'm on this planet, to serve these entrepreneurs and do that. Profiling tools are really powerful to just help you understand yourself a lot better. So these are outer world stuff. Then there's inner world stuff, and that's where the real magic is. And so the inner world stuff can be things like therapy. So I did therapy in my 20s. I did therapy in my 40s, worked okay, but not well because I wasn't being honest. Then I did it in my 50s when I had my awakening, and oh my God, was it good, because I was totally honest. So that helped a lot. I find meditation is really powerful to shed stuff, because in silence, this is why most of us won't meditate and be in silence, because that stuff, when you sit in silence, it's coming. It's just not, and the saying is that it comes up with as much pain as it went down. But you got to get it all out. The body keeps the score. Very powerful book. There's so much writing now on this, how we trap it in our bodies. Plant medicine. So I tried plant medicine. I've never done a drug in my life. So the thought of plant medicine. But plant medicine, I don't recommend it for everybody. I don't recommend it for most. But what it does is it turns off your ego for 2 to 4 hours, and you get to see life without an ego. And it's the most beautiful, spectacular place. And you get to watch your ego work. That ego, how it turns on. And I realized my ego ran my life from age 15 to 30. I'm sorry, age 15 to 50. So those are kind of the big 3. But we give, like I said, 30 examples of ways to kind of shed and really know your true self and know thyself. So am I hitting it, or is there more?
No, that's great. So just clarification. For us, when we brought our integrator on board, we said I'm going to be primary visionary to the integrator, so it's not a two-headed monster, and my brother will be the secondary visionary off to the side, so we can try to make that work. And I would say strategic coach. I had my second session next Wednesday. Very good.
Yeah, so I want to really drill into this, and we got about 2 more minutes on this, so I want to do this fast. Worst case, come and find me afterwards or at the cocktail party tonight.
Sure.
But you're asking me, how do you, become your true self, free your true self? You're asking that in the context of this 2 visionary thing? Is that what you're trying to seek and find there?
Yeah, no, 2 separate questions.
It's separate. Okay, that's what I want to know. And you're asking for you, obviously, right?
Correct.
And you're just saying, hey, Gino, give me your top 3 ways that you freed your true self and shed some layers.
Yep.
Right? And so I feel like I answered it. That's not your satisfied look, and I want you to be satisfied. So can you just re-ask it if I'm missing something?
No, you're spot on. I think everybody's journey is different. I think you talked about something in Boulder that you did, or you do on a regular basis.
I've been going to Boulder for 25 years. It's 25 different things. I call those shedding layers. But that's working with all different kinds of healers and interesting coaches.
Energy healers and things
like that. It's all kinds of crazy. I've done sweat lodges. I've done it all. And every single thing helped. And it took another layer off. So it all works. And by the way, the 4th thing I always share is 2 really powerful books: Letting Go by David Hawkins and The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer.
Very good.
Very, very powerful. Don would say, just read the Bible, damn it. It's all in there. So for what it's worth, I want to give a little shout out to, because he's sitting there going, I hate when he talks about this fucking shit, because if they would all just read the Bible, everything would be solved. I say that with love. Does that answer it?
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank goodness. Going over here.
Hello. This morning you mentioned that you did something to flip the business plan on its head.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah. I can give you the 2-minute version of that. So the business was failing, and it wasn't working, and Don and I were at our wits' end. In worst case, Peyton and I were going to sit in our underwears right? That was the worst case. We took ourselves to the worst case. I put a stake in the ground. Can't remember the exact time frame, but I put a stake in the ground and I said, by this date, I'm going to figure this thing out. And so what I did is I went into a Starbucks and I read 2 books, The Starfish and the Spider and Tribes by Seth Godin. You don't have to run out and read those. They were appropriate for my business model. They're probably not appropriate for your business model. But what it introduced me to is an open source, autonomous model, okay? But that was just one of 100 data points. And so the way I described it, I sat in that Starbucks all day. I read those 2 books. I poured over all the data points, why it's not working, what's possible. And then it came to me so clearly after all that what we're going to do is we're going to create a total open source business. We are going to give the content away to the world. We are going to take our internal base camp where we train all of our implementers, and we're going to open it up to the world. And then we're just going to have all of those implementers pay us to play with us. And everything's going to be abundance-based and open source. Where prior to that, it was a licensing model where we took 15% of everything they generated. Well, when you have half of the implementers that are generating 0, I did the math, and 15% of 0 was 0. So we just had them pay to play with us. And then poof, it just took off. And so as I presented that presentation of my life, 20 implementers, do you think we had in the room? And so 20 of them scared the shit out of them because they weren't making any money, and all of a sudden they start coughing up money. But like Peyton was making, at the time, $500,000, maybe even more than that, paying us 15%, $75,000. All of a sudden we said, Peyton, you're going to start paying us $10,000, and you're going to keep the other $65,000. And he comes up at the break and says, Gino, you just bought me a Mercedes. Thanks, brother. So some won, some got scared, but it was all just now accountability based. You got to perform. Does that help?
Yeah. Thank you.
Cool. Going over here.
So I'm going to build on the Shine topic.
Yes.
In Shine, you talk about making decisions out of pure love. And as part of that, you talk about sitting in silence to pay attention to sensations in your body. And what that might be telling you either through a blockage or intuition. So my question is, what resources or practices recommend to help in that fine-tuning or paying attention to the sensations in your body and extracting the meaning and breaking through?
Have you read Shine by chance? Great. And so there's 2 exercises in there I would highly recommend. But if I'm hearing you right, you're asking, how do I listen to my body better so these things can come up, right? So there's one exercise, we call it like the pick one exercise. And so what we do is we take somebody through an exercise where we get you to think about 3 events in your life that were traumatic, have energy around them. And then we ask you to pick the lightest one, okay? Just to practice this. And then we take you through a process where you just think about that. When you feel where the sensation comes up, it will always come up. And it's all in the book. But then we get you to then focus on where it is, what shape is it, what color is it, and just focus on it. And it will dissipate in typically about 90 seconds, but sometimes 90 days. That's one example. Another example is the True Self exercise, where we take you through that exercise to take everything out of your life, and it's just you coming to meet you. And there's going to be some pain that comes up. The thing is going to come up in that exercise. The other thing I would suggest is there's some really great books, like The Body Keeps the Score. Have you read that? I would read that because what that's going to do is it's going to help you understand what's really going on. Gabor Mate has some amazing stuff on tapping into your body. Again, Untethered Soul I mentioned. So those are some of the things I would suggest. But again, in Shine, we give like 30 resources. Am I hitting it? Because I really want to make sure I'm giving you something that you're looking for.
And I think you've mentioned meditation, just sitting in stillness, energy healing. Like all of those things seem to be getting close to it.
Yeah.
But I think I'm waiting for something that's going to be like, oh, that's what she
Yeah.
did.
So, but here's the thing. Like, I was really stuck on some things, and it was actually my doctor in Nashville that said I would suggest you try plant medicine. You know, and again, it's a shit show out there with plant medicine. I don't recommend it to everybody, but that's what I needed to take a sledgehammer to my ego, because my ego was so strong. So I'm not saying go do plant medicine, but I would look into it, because you might be stuck right now and you need something stronger to break that ego loose that's hanging on really tight, because our egos get very scared when it's time for them to take the back seat. We can never get rid of it, but taking the back seat to our souls. And so right now, your ego is probably very scared, even having this conversation, but you just start to pay attention of what's coming up. And so some of those deeper things might be the right thing for you. But read The Body Keeps the Score. My gut is telling me read Body Keeps the Score, because you're going to see a whole bunch of other ways to do it as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks. And Gabor Mate might be a good book to read as well. His most recent one that I can't think of the title right now. We have 10 minutes left, just to give you a heads up. We may not get through everybody.
Hi, Gino.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for putting the love in everything. My question is out of curiosity, right? I read all the books that you talked about, and when you chose EOS Worldwide, what was your vision of the worldwide?
So when Don and I picked that name, EOS Worldwide, right, and we filed that name as a company, you're asking why did we name the company that?
Right? Like I'm on
Oh,
the
yeah.
other side of the world. So
Yeah.
when you say worldwide, I'm just curious, really.
Well, for one, I had no doubt in my mind, and any color you want to add, please add, because I have a funny feeling. We had one implementer outside of the United States in Pakistan, so we called it Worldwide, or out of North America. But there was just a big vision. I had no doubt in my mind. I saw in my mind every single night that book going all over the world, people coming to us from all over the world. I just knew. But remember, 10,000 companies running on EOS is what led us. So we knew this thing was going all over the world. And so it's like you asked the question, it's like a no-brainer to me. And I don't know which one of us came up with worldwide, but failure was not an option. This was not only going to be a United States thing. There's no question about that. Does that help?
Yes, that's all I need. Thank you.
Great.
A lot of uncertainty in the world right now.
A lot of what?
A lot of uncertainty.
Sure, yeah.
What's going on with the economic climate, and I'm
Yeah.
not sure if you saw the news today and everything that's going on this morning. This can cause a lot of businesses to push the pause button on anything they might see as discretionary. So I have to imagine this might affect EOS implementers. What advice would you have for the EOS implementers that maybe are not going to get as much business right now, or businesses that might be affected by uncertainty in the market?
Got it. Are you one of those?
Certainly.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How long have you been with us?
Off and on for 10 years, but with an implementer for the last 2.
When did you do boot camp?
In terms of the first day of
When did you graduate boot camp?
Graduate boot camp.
Oh, you're not a
Oh, I'm not an
professional-
implementer. No, I'm not an implementer. No, my business is similar to yours. That's why I was asking.
Oh, you have a similar business.
Yes.
And so you have implementers, but they're coaches or
That's
whatever
right.
they are. Yeah.
That's right.
Listen, we love competition. I have sat with more competitors and taught them what I did.
Complimentary, not competition.
Que
but
sera,
yes.
brother. It's
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay.
I promise you're not competition.
Bring it on, motherfucker. Bring it on. So we are fanatical with our implementers that come to us. You have to have a sphere of influence. You have to have a network. So our target market is privately held 10 to 250 person company. I've said that a million times by now. You get over and over and over and over and over. And so if an implementer comes to us, which we've seen hundreds of times, that comes from the startup world. They're going to fail. Get out of here. Come from the corporate world. Going to fail. Get out of here. So do you have a network of people with 10 to 250 people companies that you can tap into that will rant and rave about you and the floodgates will open? And the ones that say no, fail. And so for your coaches that are struggling, they probably do not have a network of the target market. And it's really hard to build this cold. So you saw one of the SMAC recipe items were a relationship-based company. If you can't build your business relationship-based, please don't buy lists. That's just how we are. I'm just telling you our experience. So any of the ones that failed, so Don and I had a 50% failure ratio in the first 2 years, and then we learned we got to be tougher. We got to talk them out of coming here. Because now when they come to us, they pay $50,000 just to come in the door. So we got to talk them out of it because they're about to make a big investment. So if I'm reading the tea leaves on you, the ones that you have that are struggling, they don't have a network. That's typically the first thing. And then the second thing is just, they don't have the experience or the passion. Like, are they really passionate about the thing you do? So please.
Yeah, similar. I think it's like.
Let me teach you how to compete with us. Keep the questions coming.
No, I promise we're not competing. But it's more like if the implementer has deals in their pipeline, like we're really excited when these new companies started up.
Yeah.
But now these companies are spooked by what's going on in the economy, so they're hitting pause. They're saying, listen, maybe in 3 months or 6 months.
Yeah.
That's more, I guess, where my question
so
is.
on that, so 08 and 09 kicked our ass, okay? So we all, EOS implementers, we took a 30% hit to our revenue. It was brutal, okay? COVID wasn't even that bad. We took a little bit of a hit, but 08, 09 was the tough one. That's when Don and I were at the helm. So my business mentor, 10-year thinking, said there's a 10-year business cycle. Every 10 years, same thing happens for every business. 2 great years, 6 good years, 2 terrible years. It's going to happen every 10 years. It happened for me for 30 years now. Every 10 years that has happened for me. So we had our 2 tough years in 08, 09, so we had to endure. And so you got to get creative. But what we said to all the implementers, we said, you're going to take a 30% hit to your business. So batten down the hatches, stop spending money, prepare. It's going to be a really tough 2 years. And so we're brutally honest, brutal facts of reality. So we just prepared them for the worst. Because now I'd have to get into your exact business model to tell you this all, and I can't do that for you. You got to figure that out. But get brutal, be honest with them, and you probably are in store for a couple of tough years. And it was our early years as well, because remember, the business we started it in 08. So we start this business, and we're all struggling. It was brutal. Brutal facts. We just all put our heads down, though, and just worked through it. Best I got for you. 4 minutes left.
Hi. First off, thank you so much. This is a blast. So it's just fun to be here with all these great people.
Me too.
A couple really quick pieces of context that might be helpful. I work in a business that I love our people and our leadership team in particular. I love what we do. And then some stuff about me. I have some middle child and some Midwestern shit. And the open and honest piece is hard for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been working on that. I've learned a lot and grown a lot in that in our leadership team in the past couple years. But there are some know yourself issues in our leadership team that I think need to be called out, and I think I might be the person to do it, and it scares the shit out of me.
Yes, it should.
So I'm just curious it feels like you're the open and honesty and I'm going to be direct and it might suck or feel bad. It seems like maybe you don't have challenges delivering those messages, but for people who do, or for companies you've coached, where you want to create that safe container or just convince someone like me to be a little braver, because I just don't want to damage the relationships with these people that I love. And it's hard stuff to point out.
Right. So I would suggest a couple things. So there are softer, gentler ways to do that than how I do it. Okay. Yeah. But the process is the same. So go read. I'm trying to think of 2 conflict type books. Who was the speaker last year?
Kim Scott.
Radical Candor.
Yeah.
So read those, and they'll show you a process. A gentle fucking process for doing it.
Yeah.
It's such a waste of time to me. So the process is, oh boy, I got a problem. I got issues. They got issues. We're not being open and honest. I got to solve this. Every single one of those things I've gone into that you went into, I was terrified. I look like I'm not, but I'm terrified. I'm insecure. All my shit comes up too. I'm terrified. Literally terrified. But I'm so clear on what greatness looks like that the conversation has to be had. And like I said, if it comes from open and honest and love, you can't say it wrong. You could read 100 books, and they're going to give you 100 ways to say it. You got to pick your way to say it. That thing I said earlier with whoever was standing there, say it. I need you for an hour. Going to be a tough conversation. I don't know what's going to happen at the end of this. Yeah. But then you just say it. And you say, can you just hear me for 15 minutes? And I want to say something to you. And it might hurt. But you just got to go there. And the words, to me, are always irrelevant, because I've said it 100 different ways, but I just got to get it out, and you have no idea what's going to happen at the end of that. Prepare for the worst, take yourself to the worst case scenario, all those wonderful things, and I've learned 90% of the time, it's beautiful. It's so freaking beautiful, and even if you part ways, it's beautiful when you do it that way.
Cool.
That's all I got for you.
Thank you.
You got it. 1 minute left. One more. And for the others that aren't going to get their questions in, I'll be at the cocktail party tonight, so please just come to the cocktail party and ask your question, but fire away.
Yeah, so I 10% owner of HVAC plumbing business. My dad is a majority partner. I'm new to the EOS world, and about the transparency part, in a business sense, I respect him. In a personal sense, I don't agree with what he's done in a personal sense. And I think I'm setting an opportunity of a lifetime for me at my stage of my career. And, how do I guess I'm looking for your advice on how do I navigate this relationship, and is it worth it? That's kind of my question.
And so I missed a really important point, and thanks for asking a nice, light 1 minute question.
Yeah, right, I know, right. I've been waiting, yeah.
So very fast, short answers, please. What's the relationship between the two of you? In this HVAC company?
Oh, so I'm 10% owner, he's 45% owner.
What's the relationship between the two of you?
Like in the...
No, who are you? Tell me the two of you.
Oh, I'm Visionary.
Yep, you're the
Yeah,
visionary.
Yeah, integrator. We're trying to kind of move him off to the side right now because we just brought an integrator in.
I'm trying to understand who you're having a dilemma with. I'm not.
It's with my dad.
Yeah, and your dad is what role would you guess?
He's the president of the company, of the old version of the company. Now we're trying to change the company.
You're the visionary.
Yes.
He's the president somewhere with an integrator in there?
100%, yeah.
So he's a seagull manager. He's just
Yes,
flying around shitting all over everything, right?
1,000%.
He's nowhere in the accountability.
100%, exactly
Right.
what's going on.
So you're asking, how do you have the conversation with your dad?
Yeah.
I had the same conversation with my dad.
Right.
Okay? I locked him in the Troy Marriott with our third partner, so the integrator may or may not need to be there. My dad was tough enough to handle the conversation, and I gave the presentation of my life. And that's when the accountability chart was created. And I said who I think should be in every seat, and I got him to play nice. And so, same thing I keep telling over here, get really clear in your head, do the presentation of your life. You have no control over what's gonna happen, but how old's your dad?
62.
Yeah, how much chutzpah does he have left?
Not much. Yeah.
Exactly.
But he thinks he has a lot, yeah.
Exactly. So you gotta put his mind at ease, let him ride off into the sunset. But at the end of the day, you can't control it. If he's gonna keep shitting all over everything, you got a decision to make.
Yeah.
I decided to move on. It's really hard.
Yeah.
We went to therapy together. We just couldn't figure out how to fully function that business together, but we functioned well enough to fix it, grow it, all that kind of stuff. But it was too much. It's too much. I don't want to manage somebody that hard. Too much. So I get a sense you're going to be just fine whatever the fuck you do, okay? Go buy another HVAC company. You know what I mean?
Yeah, thank you.
Best I got for you. There it is, everybody. Thank you so much. This was awesome. What a blast.